Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel Psychology Point. In this video, I am going to make you revise Chapter 4 Psychological Disorders, Class 12 Psychology. This is very important chapter from the point of view of your theory examination as well as practical examination. As per the report, this time examiners would be focusing their viva from the second term syllabus. So, this video is going to give you twofold benefits for both types of examination. So, let's start the revision as well as side by side, I will discuss the questions for the viva also. Okay, so let's start. See, whenever we are revising, then also our attention should be first on the introduction of the chapter. You must have already studied this chapter, so you would be finding some of these points which I had written on this slide in this chapter. See, all of us, whether we are from any background, doesn't matter, whether we have whichever type of personality, we all face major stresses in our life, isn't it? But problem is, some people, they have extreme reaction to these problems of life. So in this chapter you had already studied, okay, but in the introduction it is mentioned we will try to understand what goes wrong when people develop these psychological problems. Then we will be focusing on the causes and the factors which led to the abnormal behavior. What are the various signs associated with different psychological problems? Now, see, these are the major questions which this chapter will talk about, okay, which you had studied in your classes previously. So, these could be the questions for Viva also. Maybe your examiner asks you what are the causes of anxiety disorder, or what are the symptoms of anxiety or any other psychological disorders which you had studied. Okay, so now let's proceed further. In the introduction of this chapter, you might have studied that it is very difficult to define abnormality. Okay, so next question from this chapter could be, how would you define abnormality? It is a very complex issue. See, anything which is unusual will make you uncomfortable. If during this video making I start the music which disturbs you, it is making you uncomfortable when you are studying. Okay, so this behavior of mine, which would be unusual, could also be termed as abnormal. Okay, so this defining abnormality is a very complex issue. Then you see people around suffering from discomfort, anxiety. They haven't been able to realize their potentials and they are unhappy. Why? Why? This is due to their failures. Failures in what? In adaptation to life challenges. That is, they have failed to adjust to different challenges which the life has posed upon them. Okay, now what is adaptation? This could be your next question. See, a person's ability to modify his behavior in response to changing environmental situation is termed as adaptation, or your adjustment with the environmental situation, whichever new you face in your life. Here, you very well are aware of the corona last year, which has affected our life very badly. It has created various psychological problems for the people, and now those people who had shown good adjustment to meet their this environmental demand, they had come out well from that situation. Okay, they had adapted themselves to whatever the situation demanded them to do. They had adapted to the change, like you all as the students have adapted to the virtual mode. Then you had started sanitizing your hands, wearing the mask, whatever the situation has demanded to you. Okay, but there are many other people who were maybe physically weak and psychologically weak, had to suffer the most. Okay, they were unable to adapt to the challenge which was imposed on them by the environment. Okay, now when a person is unable to adjust to his environment, then his behavior is termed as maladaptive behavior. This is the next term in your chapter. So, you could very well understand what is maladaptive behavior. I repeat, when the behavior cannot be modified according to the needs of the situation, then it is said to be maladaptive. Means, if our environment is demanding us something and we are not able to react in that manner, then that behavior is termed as maladaptive. Now, there is a branch of psychology which studies maladaptive behavior, its causes, consequences, and its treatment, that you all very well know, that is called abnormal psychology. So, indirectly, you are seeing from the this introduction only, many questions can be asked. You must have studied, just revise those 4 Ds: deviance, distress, dysfunction, and danger. Okay, any behavior which is deviant from usual behavior is termed as abnormal. Like it is different, deviation means different, extreme, unusual. Okay, then second D is distressing. Abnormal behavior is usually distressing, that is unpleasant and upsetting to the person as well as to the significant others in the environment. Yes, this is a very real, means a person who is suffering himself, he is suffering, but he is also causing discomfort to the people around. Okay, so that is what is the meaning of distressing. Then dysfunctional means that it interferes with the your ability to carry out your daily activities. Okay, and possibly the fourth D is dangerous. Okay, that is, it might be, that the abnormal person's behavior is dangerous towards you. He might throw something at you, or some way it could be dangerous. Then the next question that your examiner could ask you, what is the literal meaning of the word abnormality? That is, away from normality. Next in the chapter, you have a different approaches of abnormality. Okay, the first approach, it views that anything which deviate from the social norms is termed as abnormal. But then this you have studied before also. Ki Anything it that is deviating from social norm would be dependent on the culture in which we are living. Supposingly, if we are living in the western culture, then whatever behavior we are showing there might not be abnormal, but in Indian situation it could be abnormal. So that is one approach. The next approach tells us that abnormal behavior as maladaptive. It doesn't matter uh, whether you get the conformity from the society. According to this approach, it says that it should not harm the individual in any way. It should be such where its well-being could be enhanced. Then this well-being question you get in the writing part also. What do you mean by well-being? Well-being, children, is not only your maintenance and survival. That is not only that you have your basic needs satisfied. If you remember in class 11th you had done the Maslow's theory of hierarchy. So, according to this concept of well being, you should reach, according to that Maslow's concept also, one should reach to the one should reach its one potential. Okay, that is termed as well being. Well being is not simply maintenance and survival, but also growth and fulfillment. That is actualization of one's potential. Next in the chapter, you have historical background of psychological disorders. Now, under this, there are three perspectives or the three approaches which are covered. Over the years, what this is telling you about the history. So, over the years, there had been three approaches, basically three approaches, which have reappeared in the Western civilization also, in the Western culture also. Okay, so we would discuss them one by one. First is the supernatural approach. It views abnormality as the presence of some evil in the human, some evil spirit. You must have heard about Bhoot Paret and all. And since this is a revision, so I will take this topic in short. Okay. Now in your this question comes in the written part also. It could be asked to you in the viva also. So very important question it is, and you can present this in the flowchart form as you could see in the slide. Okay. So here you would be mentioning about exorcism also. You all have read and you are aware. So let's revise what is exorcism. That is removing the evil spirit which has entered in the individual through counter magic and prayers. Okay, by reading some of the mantras you have read before in the chapter about the Oja Baba and all. So that you can mention in this answer. Then you have then you have another approach that is called organic approach, or it is also called biological approach, which views abnormality as the problem in one's brain and body. Okay, if some problem occurs, then the individual show some unusual behavior. Then you have the psychological approach or the psychological model explaining the behavior, explaining the abnormal behavior or abnormality. It tells us that abnormality is caused due to inadequacies in the way the people think, feel, or perceive the world. Apart from this, you can also mention about the middle age, in which you can say which you have studied about the demonology. Then you can come over to Renaissance period, in which you can mention that there was an increased humanism and curiosity about the abnormal behavior, and wires has emphasized psychological conflict and disturbed interpersonal relationships were the causes of psychological disorders. And then in the last, in this answer, you can mention about deinstitutionalization. That is, the people were in the mental asylum. Okay, in the next video, I will discuss the next topic. So, in this, you had covered up first 2 3 pages of your chapter, both for from the practical point of view and theory point of view. Okay, hope this video would help you. Thanks for watching. Do like, share, and subscribe my channel for upcoming videos.